Sai Baba is what I call this cosmic eye experience I had. That same cosmic eye is me, is you, is everybody, right? But the manifestation, we got lost because we got all this baggage we gathered up while we are here. Just one. Inner connection is the closest one we have. And Shivangini had the same thing. I mean, she sat in the darshan line, she used to talk to me, says, why aren't you calling me for interview, you know? He says, what are you going to do in interview? You say, then after interview, you're going to go tell people that Baba talked to me. And he says, I'm already talking to you, you can go tell, you know. You know, like we used to talk about surrender one time.
Surrender.
Surrender. When you have complete surrender, a witness state comes into you, which is 100% surrender. And all your qualities, bad qualities are eliminated in you, or not bad qualities, I should say more like your attachments and desires are gone.
I would think that's the fast path to equanimity.
Equanimity, absolutely.
Complete surrender. Did she have it in your estimation early on, or did she acquire it?
She acquired it. She acquired it later. And she's one of those people who was good in her own nature, but she didn't have much tolerance for others not being good. Like, you know, there are sometimes we used to meditate together. I would have a vision and exactly similar thing she will have as a vision. And we are sitting and meditating and we are in our own visions, right? And you know what Baba said at that time? He said, when you get experience of bliss, hang on to it. Then he says, bliss is the only real thing. Everything else is imagination.
Answer me this question. If we're supposed to believe in a world of non-duality, then what is bliss? Because bliss implies that there's an opposite called misery, and isn't that putting you right back into duality?
Actually, bliss doesn't have misery. Bliss has no opposite. Happiness has opposite.
Unhappiness.
Joy has opposite.
Pain, sadness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But bliss is, it's like your state of being. Like bliss is not in the body. Bliss is in the consciousness. Because pure consciousness is bliss. This time he gives her body aches and pains. Climb up. This way, and he says, this way you will have empathy for the difficulties of people who are walking that path, because most of them and a lot of them have that aches and pains. They don't know where to turn, but they don't know which way to go.
I don't know what to make of this, Gyani.
In order for her to coach anybody, either in this realm of the human body or in the astral realm or the causal realm where she is now, in order for her to coach, she has to know the difficulties of the turns and twists and turns.
From this point to the end of her physical life, how much time was there? Are we talking a year, 2 years?
December it manifested, and as soon as it manifested, Swami told her no therapy. No therapy at all. And she did not take chemo and radiation till at the tail end, when she was told that the tumors got big and broke through the skin.
Welcome to part 3 of a special 5-part series, The Making of a Yogini. How Indian holy man Sri Sathya Sai Baba led Midland, Michigan resident Dolly Bailey, whom Sai Baba renamed Shivangini, to the spiritual level of Jivan Mukta, a person who resides in a perpetual state of self-realization. The story of this amazingly brief 7-year transformation is told by Shivangini herself shortly before her death, and by her husband Gyani Bailey. Welcome to Sojourns. Part 3 of this series was recorded in Midland, Michigan on August 17, 2012.
No, Swami asked her, would you be willing to join me in 7 years? Meaning, would you be leaving that body and merge in me in 7 years?
Meaning her.
Her.
And this was in 1998.
April
and this was a tape recording that she made of her lessons from Baba and tutoring from Baba,
right,
that you didn't become aware of until after she left her body?
Yeah, first time I heard it was in January 2006, and she passed it as September 3, 2005.
So the math adds up. That's quite a cliffhanger.
That is a quite. Math just adds up. 7 years, 7 years, couple months is what she had, and she left the body at that time in September 3, 2005. Earlier I was mentioning, saying that if I stray away in this life, I'll have 17 more lives, right? That was
a bullet through your heart.
Right. It's like a bullet through my heart. And then a few years later, after I heard that one, about 4 or 5 years later, Shivangini left, right? So that make it 100% top priority. Now the only goal left for me is whatever, I mean go towards God. Right?
But you know, you say that in such a light-hearted tone, I'm still convinced, I mean, I think about myself, would that be enough to put me onto this path? Would that be enough to push me forward? And many others might think the same way about themselves.
Right.
You had two huge incentives to buckle down, to dig deep and be a good student, and you did it.
Right.
No regrets, I'm sure.
No, I'm glad I did it that way. And you know, like I was primed enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was primed enough to do it because I saw all the experience, and I saw her experiences and how genuine they were, because I experienced it with her. And like, you know, there are sometimes we used to meditate together.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a vision and exactly similar thing she will have as a vision, and we are sitting and meditating and we're in our own visions, right? And they will match to that degree, right?
Well, she just told me, you just heard about some great stories involving your best friend from many years ago. We don't have to go into details.
Right.
But again, she was what I would call prescient. She would be able to read not just and be where you are in meditating side by side with her, but she had this ability to know what was going to happen as you would visit friends' homes in Detroit.
Right.
What questions your friend's wife was going to ask, and how he might benefit from her teacher, Sai Baba's suggestions for his line of work.
Right.
We don't have to go into details. It became increasingly apparent to you that she had gifts beyond the realm of what seems normal
Right.
or natural.
And also he called her Jivan Mukta, and before Jivan Mukta he called her Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna means the
What's
one
that?
who's... Sthita Prajna is the word they use. Prajna is the constant integrated awareness. Sthita Prajna is the one who is in constant integrated awareness all the time.
Baba would call it the CIA. Yeah.
CIA, yeah. So that awareness, she had that, and he called her that. So I knew that. I mean, all these things, when you compare it and read it in scriptures and so forth, that is the ultimate stage.
Did you ever worry she could read your mind and see your doubts and thoughts and your bad thoughts?
Nice part when I read Baba's literature was, Swami says, even your most hideous thoughts, give them to me. I'll take care of them. And all of us have that. I mean, that's the ignorance part, you know.
Yeah.
It's a hideous thought is nothing but total ignorance, you know. We don't know what we're doing and we go that direction. If you knew that there was somebody else watching it and looking after you, we won't do that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah? And we don't know that.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. And that ignorance is there, and because of that ignorance we have that, and that her presence and her evolution has prepped me, and that preparation was helped me to take the decision to go Godward path rather than the worldly path. You know?
So you had these two powerful incentives to really buckle down and continue, and you did.
Right.
So do we shift now a little bit towards the progress you've made, or do we continue with more of Shivangani?
With some of the teachings which Swami said in this, it's important for a lot of us to learn.
Okay.
And somebody who reads the book all the way through, they might get it, all those things in there. In that book, there are a lot of lessons are buried. You know, like we used to talk about surrender one time.
Surrender.
Surrender. And
Surrender
also,
to Baba, surrender to our higher power, whatever,
Correct.
however we see it.
when you have complete surrender, a witness state comes into you, which is 100% surrender, and all your qualities, bad qualities are eliminated in you, all not bad qualities, I should say more like your attachments and desires are gone.
I would think that's the fast path to equanimity.
Equanimity, absolutely.
Complete surrender.
Right.
And did you have that at the get-go, or did you have to acquire that?
Did she, you mean?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
Equanimity?
Yeah.
No.
and then shifting back over to Shivangani,
Right, right.
with this purity that was described to her by Baba himself, did she have it in your estimation early on, or did she acquire it?
She acquired it. She acquired it later, and she's one of those people who was good in her own nature, but she didn't have much tolerance for others not being good. And when you're getting to Sthita Prajna state, it's like called, I have control over my gunas, or I have the ability to go beyond my own attributes and so on. But it is not enough that you go beyond your own attributes, you have to go beyond others' attributes also.
That's tough. You're making that climb up that mountain real steep and real long.
That is the Jivan Mukta state. Jivan Mukta state is you are getting beyond gunas, period, which means that beyond these qualities of others, of the world, of the objects, of the people, of your own. You have to get beyond all of them.
Now, every spouse knows the liabilities and detriments and negative characteristics of the other spouse. How did she tolerate? I don't know that there's any negative part to who Gyani is, but I imagine there must have been.
Right.
How did she tolerate those shortcomings of yours as she was on the fast rail towards liberation?
It's amazing thing is, as the experiences were happening to her, I started shifting.
Okay.
My nature started
you were being
shifting
influenced. She became your role model.
Absolutely. I mean, and also I was going along with her, being her side by side, and also experiencing it and writing it and recording it and all that one. That whole process is a very interesting process. Just like, you've been videoing all these devotees without knowing you're changing, right?
Exactly.
Same way, while she's going
I hope I'm changing a little bit.
Absolutely, you are. Same way, I was changing too. So and interesting is, when we were in the worldly way together, before spirituality began, we had our differences.
Well, aren't you normal?
Absolutely. But as soon as spirituality started, we used to talk about it. It's an amazing thing,
They melted away, I'll bet.
They melted away because both of you are talking about a common thing called God, common thing called goodness, common thing called spirituality.
That's wonderful.
When you are not doing that worldly, it is you and it is I, and that is two things different.
Yes, exactly. You have to not just think like one ultimately, but you really have to become one.
Yeah. You have to become one, and you have to be totally in step with each other.
And I'll be so bold as to suggest that you still are with her.
Oh, absolutely. Even now
there's no separation.
No, no separation at all. Because I was going through, even after she passed away, I was seeing her either in my meditation or in my dreams, at least once a week and more than once a week for 4 years or so.
How comforting. How loving.
And one time I had the physical touch after she passed away.
Really?
3 months after that, I slept in the afternoon. I took a nap in the afternoon. I was in India because of the jet lag. I took a nap as I was waking up. And you're in this condition where your body is not fully awake, but mind is awake, right? It's like
sort of a lucid dream
right.
state.
It's like awareness stage.
Yeah.
But your mind has not fully kicked in. At that time, I felt a kiss on my right cheek.
Oh, my goodness.
And as soon as I felt it, suddenly I said like that, and I said, "Who's that?" Right? And opened my eyes. By the time I was fully alert. Then I get another kiss on my right cheek, and I see her face pull away from me. As her face pulling away, dissolves away.
Oh my God! I've heard this before, but hearing it in context is just utterly amazing. So after you became truly awake, a second kiss, and you saw her face in the physical form as she's pulling away,
right.
And then it dissolves.
Right, and she's laughing, smiling. I mean, it's like a great smile on her face, and she's pulling away.
It's like the jokes on Gyani. He thinks I'm here, and he thinks I'm not here. But let him guess about this for a while.
Right.
Oh, this is just wonderful. I wish we had all day. So where do we go from here?
See, one thing which Swami did along the way, Swami, one time she has this meditation where there are 4 fruits given to her.
Okay.
Out of them, 3 fruits are ripe. 1 fruit is partially ripe.
Mm-hmm.
And Swami says in that one, your bhakti and your jnana and your dhyana, which is Raja Yoga, are ripe, he says. The 4th fruit which was given you, which is partially ripe, is your karma yoga is not ripe. Which is, then after giving that, he put her on the path of starting a bal vikas in this small town which never had any, for the benefit of the children. And for 2 to 3 years she was going to the summer camp, taking the children along and teaching human values classes to them. And also she was conducting every festival which is celebrated in Prasanthi Nilayam, doing it here. And Swami would guide her, tell her how to decorate that whole place downstairs, which is like a big hall. We converted it into like a bhajan hall. And in that hall she would decorate everything, and he would also tell her what food to cook. So that this is all the seva she was doing. and she was asked to talk to people, give speeches and so forth, and she would educate people on that one. And
she came to Cleveland, Ohio, and talked in our backyard,
right?
Talked here in this living room, and talked on our patio, and gave people insights without even being prompted. She did exactly as it sounds like Baba prompted her in order to ripen up that fourth area.
Correct. See, one of the things they say, and I was reading in the book in there, is all liberated souls, like Jivan Muktas, what they do in their life is they get self-realized and work for the liberation of others.
Isn't that a nice thought?
Right. Because that's one. God always says, you're getting this exalted state, but what is it you're going to do for the society?
You
because
better
the rest
give back
of them,
a little bit, yeah.
And that's what he makes them do, that is, help the others to get along this path. And she was doing that actually. The bunch of people, like a couple of people didn't come who were supposed to come. They were actually took what they call the initiation from her into becoming a disciple of hers, if you want to call that. And Swami tells her, you're going to initiate them, go to this particular library down in Ganges, Michigan, pick up this book. In that book, on this 1,800 pages thick book, and on the 1,300 page or something like that, the whole procedure of how to initiate a disciple.
He told her where to go, what library, probably what shelf and what row to look at too.
Of course, he knows every one of them. So she picks that up and she gives Diksha to them, and she goes on, like she took on other people's illness in the process. I've seen that. I've seen her go through the difficulty of working it out. But it used to be short. And Swami used to say that those who are realized, to get into the state of realization, they'll be able to work it out faster than somebody who's ailing, because they'll take much longer to work that out and much more difficulty and suffering and pain. So these people, realized souls, take that on also. So it's like they're helping the masses and humanity around them to the degree they can touch, try to evolve that. And in this process, Swami used to call her, your number is 14. Okay? And we did not know. We
Not
used to
necessarily
think
an auspicious number.
right, and it's nothing related, nothing you can calculate and say it's a number 9 or anything like that, right? Then he said your number is 14. Then one time he shows us in our meditation these circles. Then he explains to her, these are spiritual circles, and you are the center of that spiritual circle. And the center of the spiritual circle will have the influence on that circle. Okay? And he goes on to say, and the number of your circle is 14. Okay? Now, if I think of it now, later on, as I think about it, remember he was talking about Jivan Mukta as being less than 100?
Yeah.
So they must be numbered.
Yeah.
In that her number was 14.
And this is the prompting from Baba who explained this to her.
Everything came to her in meditation.
Am I led to believe that there are other individuals besides yourself in this circle, 14, that she's the center of?
She asked this question. There are people in that, and he explains, that is why, this is a spiritual secret, he says. That is why whenever your mood changes, the whole circle's mood changes. It goes to the highs and lows.
Whenever your mood
means your emotions change, up or down.
The whole circle changes.
The whole circle will swing with that.
So she's got an awesome responsibility.
On that one. And Swami says, later on, interesting thing, he says 14, right? And then he says another time, but all of them around spiritual circles. He says, there are 21 spiritual circles. Your number is 14. 5 are in America, 3 are in India.
Oh my God.
Okay. Then she thought, she thought quickly, and she said, Swami, more are in America and less in India. Is it because you are here?
Well, he's everywhere.
Right? Then Swami says, no, I'm not one of the circles. I'm above all circles.
I'm all the circles.
I'm above all circles.
Above all the circles.
That was his statement, right? Then later on, he tells her, then she asks him, oh, is that so? So is that how you, influence all the people in the world, is through the spiritual circles? He says, Shivangini, it's not like that. You influence your spiritual circle, but I control it as well.
So I'll only let you go so far if you are doing it the wrong way.
In this respect, you may mention an interesting point. she gave a mantra to one of the women here who was not conceiving.
Okay.
Shivangini gave a mantra. Swami gave her a mantra. When I say Shivangini, it's all Swami making. She's the instrument, right? And she gave the mantra to that lady, and that lady conceived, right? Then later on, that lady went through. She lost her. I mean, she had a miscarriage, right? Then much later, about couple of years later, she was heartbroken a little bit, but she still used to come, and then Shivangini used to coach her. Couple of years later, she gets pregnant again, and she's in the 8th month of pregnancy. And that day, at that time, she goes. Shivangini is meditating. In the meditation, she sees that lady. Her whole, what do you call where the baby is, and all the fluid around the baby and everything in the stomach of that lady. And in that one, the body, on one of the left fingers, there was some dirt. And she sees it, and she says in her own mind, oh, there is dirt on that finger. I hope everything is okay. She says that. At that time, the other finger of that baby moves towards that finger and clears it out. And Swami says at that time, no, don't worry, I'm taking care. It will be cleared out. So the other finger clears it out. Then Swami, you know why he gave these two experiences? To explain, and she understands the power of the mantras. She says, you know, and also I'm coming back to the topic of he controls it. Okay? And Swami says, you know, I gave you the mantra, you give that mantra to her, she conceived. That is the power of the mantras.
Oh my goodness.
Whether it is right for her, right for the child or not, it will make it happen, because the mantra's power is like that. But she had a miscarriage, and actually she sees a finger go up to the baby in that miscarried first pregnancy. She sees it, and Swami says, he takes his finger and puts it on the forehead of that baby inside that lady, and he says, this is how I aborted it, because it's not right for her.
Wow.
And he says, mantra has the power, it will do it, but I make sure what needs to happen the right way, that will happen.
It's amazing stories.
Isn't it?
Just amazing. Just one after another.
It's a lot of things like that. So this is like when he says, I control it, he gives the power and capability to them, but no matter what, they're still to some degree limited compared to what he is. And he's the one who's managing and controlling. And even though he gives them the ability to doing it, if they misstep or something which they don't do it right unknowingly, he still is overseeing it to correct it and keep it straight.
Is it close to the time when we should introduce a more advanced part of this conversation, or should we wait off? And I'm going to hold off a little bit, and I'm speaking about Shivangini's own encounter with her supreme physical challenge, in her case cancer. How much in between where we are now and that point should we talk about first?
I would say probably most of the important episodes have shown it. Like there is a couple of them from the book which Lord Krishna explains to her what life is, which in his own, in Lord Krishna's words, it's there. That's one of the things what one can talk about a little bit. But other than that, we can migrate into the cancer aspect.
And as we migrate, I'm going to say this observation about who Jody and I on the outside, I can't speak for her, but I'll speak for myself, how we reacted to Gyani Bailey at that time. And you were the silent partner. I'm sure you weren't entirely, but when we were around Shivangini, you were dutiful, you were loving, you worked very, very hard. We noticed all those things. You didn't seem to have a lot to say in our presence, not that you didn't talk in other people's presence, and it seemed to be a different but equally important period of your own life as you were being modeled, really, by your own wife. And the lessons that she was getting firsthand and came to you secondhand, my guess is you had to chew on those a little bit yourself. What's going on with my wife? How legitimate, how authentic is this process that she's going through? What am I, her husband, who's not receiving it and not prepared to receive it? How am I going to react to all this? Did any of that happen that way, or was there something else going on in your life?
See, those things never really made a huge impact on me. Actually, I never really thought much in that direction, but later on I understood why I didn't think of it.
Weren't you utterly amazed with the transformation of your life?
I was amazed at the transformation. I thought it was a great good luck, but I never saw the difference between her and me. When it was happening to her, I was as happy as if it is happening to me.
Even though it wasn't specifically happening to you, in a manner of speaking, it was because you were you're joined at the hip and you were absorbing her changes.
Correct. It's like you know, it's something happening to my hand or good happening to my face or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? I feel good about it, right? It's like she's a part of me. I never really saw her separate from me. Particularly after getting into spirituality, our joining together has become even more stronger. And it was happening to her. It was almost like it is happening to me. So I never really doubted it. It felt good all along.
And since we're in a pause period here a little bit, did you ever have any doubts? Did you ever have any worries that this is all coming too fast? I wonder how legitimate this is. It's starting to scare me a little bit what I'm seeing happening in my life. Anything like that ever occur? Where did your strength of conviction come from? Where did your bravery come from?
It's from previous life. Swami said that.
Okay.
Swami says that. He says, he tells about me is that I am a very old soul and Shivangani was a very young soul.
Really?
Yeah, very young soul apparently. And
the young soul got all the blessings. It took a while for you to catch up.
See, we are architects of our own destiny. She, along the way, she must have done things in such a way that it became a very fast path for her in overall journey. Whereas for me it was not, right? But he sent an old soul to be with the young soul so that she gets the support to go through, is what he says.
Oh, that's great. That's so wonderful.
With her journey, I was going right along with her, supporting it all the way so that the journey can go as fast as it can. You know?
There's several people here, and we're at an important junction now. We're going into a very serious part of this evolution, this transformation in Shivangani's life and yours too. And I have a few questions from some people here. So let's just knock these out of the ballpark, so to speak, and come up with
that's fine.
Your reaction to them. And go ahead and enjoy that tea while I'm looking these over here. The first one is from, I think, Rao Uncle. Obviously, Shivangani was a chosen one. What was she in previous incarnations to attain the status of a chosen one? Good question.
It's a good question.
Can we possibly know? Does Baba say that to people, to her?
She knew about almost like 7 or 8 of her previous lives.
She did?
Oh yeah, that's one of the things you'll find out with all the self-realized souls in Jivan Muktas. Whether they share it with you or not, they know their past lives, some of them. I don't know how many. They guaranteed they know that.
How about Gyani? Do you know about your past lives?
I do know, but I don't think I'll share that.
Okay. Fair enough. It must have been funny because you're laughing your head off.
That's right.
Okay, so that's a good answer. So she was aware of her progressing towards what she became in this lifetime.
Right, like, you know, like when she was early on, 97, 98, she was going through some, what do you call it, bright dreams and so forth. And one of the dreams she sees herself as a very handsome man from ancient times, and he had this big estate where there was a party being thrown, and she's like the one who's conducting, he's like the one, she was a man in there, he's the one who's conducting and so on. In the last life of hers, she was a Muslim.
Wow.
Okay.
So you're married to a woman who is a man and a Muslim, huh? Right. And goodness knows what else.
And interesting is she was a Muslim back in the 15th century time frame, 14th, 15th century.
Difficult period.
Difficult period, and also at that time, I may have not got the century right, but you know, Muslim holy shrine, which is in Mecca,
sure.
There is Kaaba stone there. Next to Kaaba stone, there is a stone next to it, which we didn't know what it was, which we found out later on while speaking to some Muslim friends. And one day she sees that in a cave in Iraq, there is this stone.
She's not there physically, she sees it in a dream.
In the vision she sees
in the visions, okay.
In the vision she sees that she is there, and her guru is there, who was a Muslim too.
At the rock.
Right, in Iraq. And they were there at that time, and there is this stone which was in that first was hidden in a cave, and then later on it was brought out, right? And later we were sitting with this close Muslim friends, and she was describing that stone. And that she says, I don't know what that stone is. I saw it next to, not next to, it looks this shape and all that. That Muslim friend of ours, he got up and went out and took a book from his library, which was up there, of Mecca. He opens the book, and there is Kaaba stone, huge picture of it. Next to it, this stone called Al-Hajrul Aswad. That's what they call it. It was sitting next to it. She looks at it. She says, yeah, it looks like that, but the only thing is, I saw it not the way it is. Oh, no, it looked flat. The picture when it was taken, as if it's an aerial picture which was taken. She says, this looks flat there, but the way I look, the vision I had, the stone is like shaped like this. It comes up like that, right? That guy, that friend smiles. He says, you know, you're seeing it flat because the picture is taken from the top, but it actually is the shape like that one. And all the Muslims who go there, not only touch the Kaaba, all of them kiss that stone. It is called Al-Hajrul Aswad. Apparently it's a stone which fell from this, according to their faith and belief, fell from the heavens. It is from God's house. A part of it fell down, and so all the Muslims who go there kiss that stone. So she could describe it. She never knew what it was called, or what shape it was, or where it was. And this came, she says, this is back in whatever, that 14th, 13th century in Iraq, and she was there at that time. So this is one of her previous lives, knowing the previous lives, you know. And also she's, Swami said that she is the great-granddaughter of Lord Rama.
Another previous life.
Way back in about, that's now you're talking different yugas.
So we're talking not just a handful of lives, we're talking hundreds, thousands of lives.
Could be.
Could it be thousands of lives?
It could be thousands of lives. But you know, the way the, yeah, it could be thousands of lives, or it could be more.
So the lives she's aware of, that she's either learned from Swami or some other way of learning, they're not contiguous lives like the immediate past 7. There's 7 spread over, let's say, 500 lifetimes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is spread over because you don't take reincarnation right away. It's like you have, when you leave your body, when we leave our body, before we come into the next body, you could be in unmanifest state because you're waiting for the right conditions to manifest in. And till the right conditions don't come, sometimes we don't manifest, you know.
Question number 2. Very, very wonderful question. Using Dali Shivangani as his channel, what message do you think Swami wants to deliver to mankind?
Interesting question, because Swami used to say, he used to tell her, these experiences are being given to you for your evolution. But they are not only for you, it is for the greater good. These need to be shared, because by sharing them, we are instilling that whatever that change that needs to happen in the people who hear and listen about it, that not only the glory of God, but also how we can proceed in our spiritual path, how anybody can make progress in spiritual path, clarifying it. And another thing he used to say, like in the first book which we wrote, Inner Experiences, Swami was very emphatic about January, February of 1998 to sit down and write. And because you won't be able to write later, he said. And we used to think that on Mahashivratri 1998, she was going to pass away. That's what both of us used to sit down and talk about it, right? And the reason was, Swami says, later on he explains, the reason was that at that time your mental state is as such that you can explain it in simple words for people who are just getting into spirituality to understand. That is our first book.
Did she write? Or was it you who wrote?
Right. I am the one. Swami says, these experiences for you to utilize and Jnani to summarize. He used to use these words, utilize and summarize.
You were her secretary.
Absolutely. See, that is my seva and that is my transformation, right? So there is a greater good in this one. And also the second book is kind of helps people when they are on this path, how the evolution, that spiritual journey evolutes. Step by step, how it increases, where it goes, where next goes, what state you come to, how all the 4, like Bhakti, Karma, Jnana and Raja Yoga, all of them are important. Swami says that, you know, you should be on a 4-wheel drive, which is Bhakti, Karma, Jnana, a little bit of devotion, a little bit of scriptural reading, do seva, and then do a little bit of meditation. He calls it four-wheel drive. We should be, all of us should be on four-wheel drive. You know? So this is in order to get it back into
That's
the
why you have a
people's
Land
mind.
Rover in your drive. Now I know. You take Swami quite literally.
Right.
I'm not sure how to ask this question because I don't know who wrote it. How does a person sitting in this room, I won't identify him or her by profession, take Shivangani's suggestion to go to a certain layer of, did somebody else write that question? Who wrote that? Oh, you wrote it? Okay. I don't know that we talked about that you, no.
The question about him is how would you, if you're a researcher, how do you get that specific information from Baba?
How does,
do you get it?
that's, do you understand what the question is?
How did Shivangani get it, or how did he get it?
I know how he got it. Is
Right.
go to look at this bark and do this, but how do you after you're given this information by Shivangani, how do you go and do that research? I mean,
So how does a person, because the mic isn't picking you up, so when information, so when information is imparted, and I'm only interrupting you because I'm trying to get the question on the microphone here too. When the information is imparted to Shivangani, who passes it on, let's say, to me, she's heard and been guided by Baba how I can improve my life.
Right. Or to pursue that particular whatever information that's
Exactly.
given, right?
How do I know how to do that, being the third party in the equation? There's Baba telling Shivangani, who's telling me. How do I know how to do that? Is that what yours? Yeah.
It's interesting thing, you know, because Swami said one key thing which I have learned very clearly in my head, and I convey it to people. What it says is, as far as our effort goes, like my friend is given this information that in this particular layer of the bark of apple tree or so on, the solution or that thing for cancer lies
Or it
there.
could be
right?
any question,
Anything
that helps
information.
anybody along their path.
Right. Swami says situation, position, results are mine. Only effort is yours, he says. And you can apply it to anything you go across in life. Because that information was given to him. That friend is already working in that field. Right? That is his position. He's the investigator, principal investigator in it. And he has the knowledge to doing it. And this information coming to him is the situation being given to him. His position is already defined. Results God is going to define. Effort must be there. But if effort doesn't go in, the result will wait.
So he becomes the way shower. He becomes the pointer.
Correct. And when
your
you get the
duty is to
information, right.
pursue it or not.
When we get the information, that is where always the choice is. That, remember, we talk about a little bit of free will. We have a limited amount of free will the way we talk, you know, but in God's terminology, we don't have free will.
Because we're not the doer.
Only the one whose will is in total freedom, God calls it free will. But nobody has total freedom. We have very limited freedom. And what is that freedom? One time some Westerners asked Swami in the darshan line, says, Swami, do we have free will? He says, free will? There is no free will. But there is a choice. You can either choose God or choose world, right?
And if you choose world, in that illusion of world, another lesson for another day, resides free will. The notion, the belief that you have free will.
And the
not true free will.
Not true free will.
But the illusion of free will.
Correct. Because as long as ego there, ego will think that it has free will.
Of course.
Because it is thinking.
So all of our egocentric minds believe we call the shots in our lives.
Absolutely. Because I thought of it and I did it. So I have free will, right? The question is, you really don't have control on your thoughts when you think about it. And if anybody tells me that they have control on their thoughts, I give a little experiment to them.
Okay, what's the experiment?
Sit down, hold one thought for 30 minutes, you know, if you can. If you can, you have free will. And if you cannot, you don't have free will. Don't kid yourself that you have free will. And who can hold for 30 minutes? Jivan Mukta can hold. Nobody else can. Only Jivan Muktas have free will. They say that in this world. Rest of the people are in the flux of thoughts which are coming from our baggage of causation.
And it's a paradox, because once you, I'm guessing, as you reach the level of Jivan Mukta, fully realized all the time, and you're given free will, it's useless. There's nothing you desire.
That's why you have free will. As soon as the desire is there, you're stuck.
Next question. You have served Sai Baba through your wife on her journey. I want to point out before I go with this question.
Sure.
A lot of people must think you've been hugely blessed by Baba, and you have been. Same with Shivangani. Yet neither one of you, correct me if I'm wrong, has ever had a word from Baba come to you. No interviews come from Baba to you. Not that many occasions where he's passed your way and made vibhuti for you, or took your letters, or anything else. Your contact's been amazingly limited in his physical form.
Yeah, that's correct, because never gave a letter to him that he took, never took it from us, never touched his feet, never spoke to him, never he materialized anything for us in physical presence like a vibhuti or this or that, never had an interview. Only time I go there is see him so far away, or maybe the days I'm lucky I'm on the third row or fourth row, I can see him from there in darshan line.
And you might say the closest association with Sai Baba you've had over the years is from 10,000 miles away.
Yeah, that is the closest one. Inner connection is the closest one we have. And Shivangani had the same thing. I mean, she sat in the darshan line, she used to talk to me, says, why aren't you calling me for interview, you know? He says, what are you going to do in interview? You say, then after interview, you're going to go tell people that Baba talked to me. And he says, I'm already talking to you, you can go tell, you know. That's how he used to word it up. But I understand that it's another thing about not giving. For me, I think it's a blessing for not giving all that one. Don't get me wrong. If he today comes in front of me and says, I'm going to give you Pad Namaskar and I'm going to give you interview.
Oh, yeah.
Without any questions, I'll go for it, you know. But having not there is a blessing in disguise, because now I can connect to him, not miss him after his physical presence went away, and that is the biggest benefit. And also you'll learn to connect to him internally, and also not get connected to his form.
Yeah.
Many people are attached to his form. That's why, like, there is so much interest in Baba coming back and all those things, the emails running around. That is because all of them want that form, you know, because they like the form.
He also really nails you to the ground with his explanation sometimes. It's a stiff lesson to learn.
Right.
I've heard that he has said in so many words, don't become attached to my form, because it is not real.
Correct. Oh, actually he told John Hislop, he said it at that time, and he asked John Hislop to talk to the students, and he's talking to the students, he says, bliss, everything we do in this world, every human being and animals, they do anything, they're doing it because either they want happiness or they're avoiding physical pain or misery. Those are the only two reasons why you do it. So there is always, everything we do is because of that. And if you can reach to, John Hislop says, if you can reach to the state of bliss, if you can get the bliss, then it is every desire you have, you want, is getting fulfilled, because at the end of it you're seeking happiness anyway.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're sitting in happiness all the time, or most of the time, or whatever that is, the degree you have. You know what Baba said at that time? He said, when you get experience of bliss, hang on to it. Then he says, bliss is the only real thing, everything else is imagination.
Answer me this question. If we're supposed to believe in a world of non-duality, then what is bliss? Because bliss implies that there's an opposite called misery, and isn't that putting you right back into duality?
Actually, bliss doesn't have misery.
Okay. There is no opposite to bliss.
Bliss. The ananda they talk it, that is bliss. Bliss has no opposite. Happiness has opposite.
Unhappiness.
Joy has opposite.
Pain, sadness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's why anything with any object gives it to you, absence of that object or opposite of that object creates opposite of happiness or opposite of joy.
And it applies to everything but bliss.
Right. But bliss is, it's like your state of being. Like bliss is not in the body, bliss is in the consciousness. Because pure consciousness is bliss.
So conscious integrated awareness would be bliss.
That will be bliss. When you have constant integrated awareness, you must have bliss.
Satchitananda would be bliss.
Absolutely.
Being awareness,
Absolutely.
bliss.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get to this question. You have served Sai Baba through your wife on her journey to self-realization. I have seen you serve selflessly at the lotus feet of Ama Shri Karunamai. I think I know where this is going. You seem to know exactly how, when, and why to do what you do when in service of spirit. Would you explain how you know your intellect, your feeling, your inner knowing, your experience? Help us to know how you listen and how it is that we can listen and discern correct action. Do you hear your inner voice? That's one of the biggest questions and most challenging questions I think that's ever been written.
Right, right. I know. I know where it's come from. See, it is a very important question, because how do we know?
Mary's very creative in her questions.
How do we know? And first time when I was going to go to Amma Karunamai is when I was invited actually to come down there. I told them that no, until and unless I have sanction, I will not come. Mm-hmm. And I sat down in meditation and I said, Swami, if you want me to go, tell me to go.
Clearly, loudly.
If you don't tell me, my default position is I'm not going. So that's clear to me. And I told you what is clear to me, right? Of course, he waits. He waits. Right? He wants to see how long you're going to go. If you're going to, in between, you're going to make up your mind or not, right? He goes through that. But he gives you that time, little maturing time, and still you're stuck to your thing. Then he told me that, proceed.
Really?
That's all he said, proceed. That's all I need anyway. He doesn't talk to me much. In my connection with Swami is, maximum he ever spoke to me is maybe 7 words.
At any one time, you say?
At any one time.
Yeah.
And I get only single words, 2 words, but that's enough for me.
But you understand proceed?
Yes, proceed I understand, because at that time, whatever your mind is in context, and I know why he does it that way also. For some people, they have a lot of conversation with Swami. For some, he doesn't give much conversation, only give 1 word, 2 word. What he's trying to do is making their intellect work. How you can put it together. He's trying to make it grow. Mm-hmm. And for me, it has grown enormously in that area, you know, because he gives me 1 word, I think, and I put 2 questions to it. It could be this, it could be this, it could be that. I leave it there. 2-3 days later, a month later, it answers. Oh, it is this. So as you learn more and more about, oh, it is this, it is that, you are getting clarified, right? Now you are understanding the thinking process, how you need to think, and how you need to, your intellect need to work. So this connection with inner voice is extremely important for people who don't have external guru. Either you have external guru, if you don't have external guru, for you to meditate and go on this path, you need to have inner voice. Mm-hmm. Because even myself, my own journey after Shivangini left, which I went through, which I'm going through, I could not have negotiated without the inner voice. No way. Many times it tells me, like one time I was going towards my Agnya Chakra, which is right in the middle of my forehead, and my inner voice tells me, don't go there. And then, you know, later on I still went there because it was naturally going, my meditation was going there. Then it says, it's up to you. As soon as it's up to you, I said, oh, I better stay off. So I stayed off from it, right? Then when I read it, in Swami's literature, Swami says if you put your concentration, in Shivangini's, it says that. He told her not to go there also, and he told me to, because later on I found out he told her. And in that one he says that if you go there, you're gonna get siddhis. Siddhis means these powers. And if you get these powers, you're gonna start playing with those. And they're gonna get lost in it, and you'll lose your original goal of reaching God.
Regrow your ego a little bit.
Absolutely. It starts playing there because it enjoys the power. Now you're talking about worldly power is gone, now spiritual power game, you know. You get into that. So Swami said, don't go there. So that such instances when they happen, it makes you feel that my inner voice is directing me correctly, confidence in it, and I need to follow it. Mm-hmm. And at times if I have to follow it blindly, I must follow it blindly. Yeah. It won't really hurt you. But you don't know, if you don't follow it, how much it's going to hurt you.
Let's move on now to the closing chapters. It's not going to be there's not going to be a final chapter because this story goes on and on and on as long as your life continues to experience all these wonderful miracles. One day, Shivangini, much to horrific surprise, finds out that she's riddled with disease. What to do one of my favorite Indian sayings. On a serious note, it must have been a crashing blow. I can only guess that it was a crashing blow to your awareness, to her awareness, of what her body was doing to her. Pick up the story from there.
Yeah, it's actually interesting is she had, maybe just to tell you, on November, the Thanksgiving of 2004, she felt these lumps in her, both right below her neck. What do you call them? Those nodes, you know, lymph nodes.
Lymph nodes, yeah.
Yeah, in this lymph node under the neck, and then one under the arm on the left side. Both of them are on the left side. She was feeling these little lumps in there, and both the kids were at home, and she said them, you know, they're hurting a little bit. These are lumps there, and the kids, both of them, told them they knew more than we knew at that time. They said, "Mom, you got to go to the doctor right away," you know. So she made the appointment, and December 15th they did the biopsy. And when they did the biopsy, they came back and said that it's, they called it anaplastic. I don't understand what anaplastic is, but it's a squamous cell, poorly differentiated, and doesn't respond to chemo and radiation well. And people who get, and it was already at the 4th stage because it already manifested here.
So this is another word for cancer, I would assume.
Yeah, it is all, that the squamous cell and all that, it's all malignant tumor.
And 4th and final stage.
4th stage of cancer because it already manifested in the lymph nodes. And
which means it was spreading throughout her body.
To the body, and it's unknown primary. They could never locate where it started from, which means that by the time you detect it, it's already too late. Because unknown primary means that, because primary we don't know, it is already the secondary, you know. And for
and it's metastasized, and that's
metastasis
something nobody
condition.
wants to hear.
Yeah, it was metastasis.
So,
and the doctor walks back. I was sitting there after they did the biopsy. She was still in the room. He walks back and comes up to me, and he tells me, "I have bad news for you." And I was meditating, sitting there. And just before, you know, like I saw a brilliant sun in my meditation at that time, like million-volt sun sitting right in the middle of my head.
Really, that's interesting.
Right.
That was, yeah.
And I opened my eyes like that. As soon as I opened my eyes, this doctor is standing in front of me.
Oh my goodness.
And he says, "I've got bad news for you." And he gives me this whole, he says squamous cell. I didn't know the head and tail of squamous cell, you know. Then later on, he told me everything, and both of us were very casually hearing, right? The doctor got worried. He thought that we are probably a bunch of maybe weak in the head. We didn't understand what he said. He sent his wife to our home to explain it to us. It's very interesting. So,
but did you know what it was? Were you aware? Were you in instant denial, or were in ignorance?
She was already having some dreams and visions which were indicating that she's going to die.
And what about you?
I'm hearing, and it's coming along. You know, it's like death is something. By that time, it didn't have as much impact to me as it used to be before. But yet, it didn't occur, so you can't really feel it, right? It is still further away or whatever. But there is always this thing. We are under the umbrella of God, right? Of Swami, right? What bad can happen? That's what what you call blind confidence was there, right? So at that time when they told us, it went along, we took it, and she said, and Swami told her that, you know, he says, when they told you had cancer, all he said, it's just body. That's what her thought was, and Swami reminded her that. And you said, when I had hip fracture, you felt the same? It's only Swami's body. And when it happened to you, cancer, your body, you reacted the same way. And I'm happy with you.
She passed that test in flying colors.
Correct. I mean, she didn't. It's easy to say when Swami breaks his leg, it's only body, right? You should say that when you break your leg, right? Only then it may.
I get the difference. It's a very important difference.
Very important.
And how did Gyani react?
I went along. Actually, earlier Swami used to say, we were going on this rail trail walk with the two people having three-way conversation, you know. And in one of those conversations, Swami tells her that all the people who have been Jivan Muktas and who have reached Devaloka, he used to say. He used to call her Devi, he used to call her Kalyani and all those things, which are very lucky woman, a goddess, that kind of names he used to call her, right? And he says, People who have, anybody who reached there have done great work for God. What would you do for me? He used to ask her. So he used to say, Swami, whatever you say, right? Then would you be a crippled prophet? He used these words. And Swami says she was a little kind of crippled. She always hated being physically dependent on others. That part she never liked. She said, pain I'll take it, but I don't want to be physically dependent on anybody, you know. That's her, I don't know, her level of personality, right? But she says, Swami, as long as you're with me, you're going to give me strength and you guarantee that you're going to continue to be with me. If you think it's right, that's fine, right? Then about after some time while we were walking on the rail trail, he prompts her, he said, tell him now that you made a pact with God. These are the words he used. Tell him now you have made a pact with God that this suffering will come and all that. So it's like
what a pact.
I know. He is priming us all the way, right?
Sure. I mean, where's the gratitude in there? That pain's coming, that the suffering's coming. That must have been an awful revelation to her and to you.
See, in about February, March of 2005, by the time the pain was increasing fairly significantly, one time Swami says, sit down and write all the reasons why you're going through what you're going through. And there are many reasons. When a lot of people say that people who are, when they're getting close to being a Jivan Mukta, all the causation, the bag of causation, we talk about all the karma which is not manifested yet, it speeds up because you want to empty the bag. Normally you may have 10 lives to work it out, but now you're being a Jivan Mukta, you want to work everything out now. So it comes in a big dose of pain or big dose of suffering. They say that's one reason. Another reason is that she could be taking on somebody else's illness and so on, right? That is the second reason. Third reason is this body consciousness, we need to lose it, that we are not the body. It enforces it on you. Now, till now you only read in the scriptures, now you got to live it.
Tough lessons to learn though, when we still have a little bit of ego, or in our case perhaps a lot of ego, and we're living in this illusion that this is the reality. This material existence is our reality.
Right? And the fourth one, to think about it, is helping others. Now question is, how does it help others? You won't believe what it did to me, watching her suffer.
Her suffering.
Yeah. Her suffering used to make me cry.
Well, of course.
Right? You know, Swami one time what he said? Because, you know, I avoided reading her cancer suffering episodes. I wrote them down. But when I was writing the second book, I always avoided that. So, then I read them, and in that one, Swami says, one day he says, you both of you been praying to me to develop love in your heart. That is divine love in your heart. Then he says, how else are you going to get it?
Oh, it's poignant and strong. And I don't want to think it's absolutely necessary, but it sounds like you're telling me that you believe his words meant that it is absolutely necessary for us.
Till you have suffering, you will not have empathy. You know, showing in his journey, what Swami told her, she had a very rapid journey. Swami said, in the first 2 years, I've taken you to the top of the mountain, right? Very rapidly, up to the path, just to know what the goal is all about.
Because she was giving it to her on a silver platter.
But zip, she went up to the top, right? Then he brought her down, he said, and he made her walk up the path again, but this time she had to go through the path and know all the twists and turns in the path.
And plus he gave her a heavy boulder to carry on her back.
That's the third one, okay? That's the twists and turns in the path, because this is the divine knowledge phase. What is that? In order for her to coach anybody, either in this realm of the human body or in the astral realm or the causal realm where she is now, in order for her to coach, she has to know the difficulties of the turns and twists and turns. Not like her, where for her, God took her to the top of the mountain just like that first time, right? Second time, she has to know all the twists and turns so that she can coach them correctly. Third time, he brings her back from the top. This time, he gives her body aches and pains. Climb up. This way, And he says, this way you will have empathy for the difficulties of people who are walking that path, because most of them and a lot of them have that aches and pains. They don't know where to turn, but they don't know which way to go.
I don't know what to make of this, Gyani. There's one part of me that says, no human should have to endure that, and the other part of me says, what a gift of understanding.
Right, right.
What a tough decision.
See, that is the path of the Guru. The Gurus who become Gurus, true, real Guru, has been through all that. They have empathy, they know exactly what to coach and when to coach, and they have seen the final truth. So those are the three things, right? Empathy is extremely necessary to be somebody who can lead others, you know. And one can always take the other path. If
And
you
avoid it all.
Yeah, and that is devotion.
Happy-go-lucky, you're talking about devotion path, yeah.
Totally get immersed in God. You don't have to go through all that path and do seva
But
and surrender to God.
They're not going to be a guru, a mentor, a guide to another person. Perhaps they will model their path to others who are observing them, and that's good.
Right.
But they won't give them the insights, the wisdom, the understanding.
Right. And the question is then, why should we have both? There is an easy path, there is a hard path. If you want to call it,
I'll take the easy path.
Right, that's a natural thing. But the thing, if you look at the world, it's diversity, and it's also it's our mental makeup. Somebody's makeup is very attuned into devotion, but somebody else's makeup is not attuned into devotion. Tell them, ask them to sit down and do bhajan, and they'll start singing bhajans or whatever. Some people go to sleep, you know. They can't help it. That's their baggage. What is it we're going to do? And they need a coach and a guide to take them through.
Yeah. From this point to the end of her physical life, how much time was there? Are we talking a year, 2 years?
December it manifested, and as soon as it manifested, Swami told her no therapy at all, and she did not take chemo and radiation till at the tail end, when she was told that the tumors got big and broke through the skin. And after breaking through the skin, at that time they were advising her that if you put radiation, it might reduce the size or hold it in its whatever the size is. None of them helped, but she did take it. So that was one thing she did. But the time it took was 9 months for her. And if you look up the squamous cell, poorly differentiated, non-small, unknown primary, they say it's about 9 months to 12 months with chemo and radiation.
So I was interested in that time frame because that's the remaining 1 year of her life, 9 to 12 months of her life.
Correct.
There are many things that I know personally, firsthand from my own observations, that are worthy of telling, that I want you to talk about in that last segment that we're going to do. Is that okay with you if we do that?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to shortchange it on any level. And I know that there's, and anybody who's viewing this, I hate to tease them this way too, but it's well worth knowing about that last 9 to 12 month period, because so much light became apparent in the minds of the people who were closest to her, you primarily. And I think that light is apt to be shed for a lot of good reasons if we take our time with it. So, Gyani, again, thank you very much. Sairam.
This thing just glued me on and I can't even move.
If it doesn't go right, it doesn't bother me. If it goes right, it doesn't bother me. Actually, I should say, if it goes well, it's his credit. If it doesn't go well,
Worry about it. So that's what I'm going by. When it comes, it comes.
compassion one should have. The best we can give, whatever we can afford, we should give. That is definitely one. But in the giving is your benefit.
That's right.
That's what the benefit is. That's what we're talking about. Like when we do the selfless service, your feelings are clean.